Hello and welcome to my next chess video. This time I want to show you the reversed Grünfeld, or the Grünfeld attack, which arises after the moves d4, not d4, sorry about that, knight f6, knight f3, d5, g3, c5, bishop to g2, knight here, preparing to go d5, e5, stopping e5, takes, knight takes, another move e5, knight takes c6, and pawn takes c6. This is the reverse Grünfeld. And let's see, I let Monarch 1.7 play this with white, and Deep Fritz 14 play this with black. So these are the two opponents, and Monarch came up with the move c4, and now it's Fritz's move. Probably knight to f6, followed by bishop to g4, pinning the knight, and then something like this will occur, and I think white is better here. Let's see both evaluations. Fritz thinks it's equal, and the Monarch thinks it's slightly better for black, so probably it's equal, playable for both sides. Let's see how to play this opening with black. Fritz is calculating the line knight f6, knight c3, and rook b8, which is kind of interesting. Stops any bishop g5 ideas, because the b pawn would then hang. But what is after takes? Takes, knight takes. This is some kind of gambit. Let's see, instead of rook b8 I will go the move bishop to here. To defend the pawn. But then maybe bishop g5, but you can counterpin the knight with this move. So it's probably not that bad, this kind of stuff. Let's see. Takes, takes, bishop takes. If queen takes, then bishop takes here, so you have to take g takes. And now e5 is threatened, so probably castling. Yeah, e5 is not on, so you kind of have to give up the bishop for the knight, and then play the move rook here to attack the pawn on c3, but you constantly have to worry about those kind of stuff. Winning, well, if this pawn falls, then this pawn falls, so probably something like, I don't know, rook here maybe, to threaten queen takes this pawn, and then maybe defending. Yeah, we have the move knight f6. Now rook here defending the pawn, probably. Let's see how Fritz will demolish Monarch 1.7 here. Monarch is calculating also the move bishop knight c3. So let's see again here. c4, knight c3, rook b8. What is the idea behind rook b8? If pawn takes, Then probably what? Going for development, leave this pawn hanging. I don't know, no, probably you wanna still capture this pawn, and after knight here you probably have this check. And if you don't wanna lose castling rights, you have to block with the queen, otherwise you can also block with the bishop. But then maybe queen all the way back threatens the knight. But then you just gave this bishop a new home on c3, so this also doesn't work. So let's see, we have to move knight c3. Rook b8 is interesting. Rook b8. Pawn takes pawn. Maybe not c takes, maybe knight takes. And after knight takes, you don't capture back immediately. Well, you kind of have to. Then queen takes. I don't know about this. White is up a pawn after all of that. Let's see how the line continues. C takes, C takes, knight takes, queen takes, bishop b4 check is the move from Fritz. King f1 and castling. So it's kind of a gambit. Queen takes queen, probably. Rook takes, and now there is this mate threat. So you kind of have to go this. But then bishop here check. King here, rook here, followed by some nice checkmate. Or at least you lose a lot of stuff. Rook takes. Also works. King here, bishop there, check, f6, bishop there, check, king here, rook takes, and you lost everything as white. So probably exchanging queens after all of this is not right. Yeah, king f1, queen takes. Probably you have to develop the bishop at some point. So let's say you go here, and then you can maybe do that. No, that fails due to, or does it? The rook here? No, yeah, it fails. Sorry. What's the compensation for the pawn? Still white is up a pawn, okay. White's pieces are dislocated, but what's really the compensation for the pawn? This bishop is not very nice, I think. And also this pawn is attacked, so probably you have to move it, a5. But then maybe bishop somewhere to free up this square for the king. Don't know yet. So bishop e3 might be a good move. Bishop here, rook there. Rook takes pawn. Maybe something like this. Bishop here. Bishop takes here, rook takes there. I don't know, black got a lot of activity. Maybe bishop to a6 coming up, pressurizing this pawn right here. Nice kind of gambit here by Deep Fritz 14. Let's see how he wins this. What else can you do? Bishop e3. Let's say instead of the queen exchange, what else to do with white here? Could probably go for this immediately. Queen takes, rook here. Bishop takes there. Rook attacks the bishop. Doesn't have a lot of squares though. Bishop here is kind of trapping the rook, isn't it? So probably you cannot take the queens off here as white, but you can maybe force an exchange of queens. Is this forcing? I don't know. Queen here, still you can play like this. Check, check, and now no, not rook here. Now what? It seems as though, yeah, black has some compensation, but all in all, white is up a pawn. So let's see how this develops. Bishop takes is calculated by Monarch 1.7. But what is after this? You have to go king f1 now. No bishop here, check. You have to go to g1. And now rook there loses the rook, kind of. Yeah, but this position looks good for black, because this rook is somehow hemmed in, not able to move. This bishop is like controlling the king and the rook here, so this might be good for black. Let's see if Monarch 1.7 really plays bishop takes, because after this check you kind of have to go king f1, and then you have to go king here, and then maybe just castling by black. Yeah, we have to move bishop takes. Now I'm wondering what's the evaluation from both engines. Okay, Fritz thinks it's slightly, Deep Fritz 14 thinks it's even, and Monarch thinks it's better for white. Yeah, because he's up a pawn, but I don't think it's better for white. But here, after castling, what to do here? Probably still bishop there to attack this pawn here, but then rook here. I don't know. So rook takes. Kind of have to go back. Now bishop here. Bishop there pins the bishop for a moment. This check doesn't work because you take with the rook and then the rook is defended, so I don't know, and rook to d8 is the threat, so you kind of have to do something against this. Move the bishop away, but where to move the bishop? This square is covered. If you move it here, then the bishop is kind of hanging, and if you move it there, yeah, probably this is the only move, because if you go here, f6 doesn't work, but h6, and you kind of have to go back with the bishop anyway, because if you go here, then this traps the bishop, so you go back with the bishop immediately just to be able to play e4 when rook d8 is coming. E4. You have a different move also, either this one or that one, but this kind of looks risky due to bishop there. Then you have to go back, and then maybe a5. Yeah, black has compensation for the pawn, but all the entry points are covered here by the nice bishops, so the rook cannot do anything. And yeah, but you have to at some point unwriggle your king to be able to move the rook, and this takes time. Here we have this bishop check, so let's see what white is going for here. Of course, I let them play without any opening book, so, or table bases, so yeah. It's deep Fritz 14's move. Let's see, bishop h3 seems kind of the only move here to maybe gain some advantage. Let's again see this kind of stuff. Bishop h3, followed by castling. Bishop here, rook there. Seems all kind of normal. Bishop b3, rook takes, rook here. I don't know. What else can you play? We will see what Fritz comes up with. Sorry. It took 4 minutes for this move here, so it must be a good move then. Bishop h3. Yeah, I mean bishop h3 is of course the move I will play immediately because it locks in the rook, and yeah. Followed by castles and bishop e3. This is what I would consider here as normal moves, and black has compensation for the pawn, but not more. Yeah, we have to move bishop h3 finally, after 4 minutes and 17 seconds of thought or of calculation. I don't know. King g1 only move. But rook b5 might not be the best move. Can also go bishop back to e7. This is what Fritz is calculating. What happens if you take here? Then probably rook takes there, and you cannot challenge the rook because of rook takes, and queen takes here. So this is a very nice rook over there, and you may be threatening. You're not threatening anything right now, but yeah, maybe the bishop goes back here to e3, and then we could have maybe some queen exchange finally. And after bishop here, well, this pawn is falling, and this is much better for black because this square is covered here. The rook cannot come in here, and if it tries to come in there, then this is leading to checkmate. So probably bishop e7. You kind of have to defend here. b3 maybe. And now what? Now rook here. Or rook there. Bishop here. Rook queen takes, and rook there to attack this pawn and defend that pawn. This is not possible, so you kind of have to go a4. And then I don't know, white has survived this, so probably the queen exchange is not what not so hot, not what white want. Some word games. So let's see. Monarch is calculating e4 after castles, because we have castles here by Deep Fritz, and e4. Let's see what happens if e4. Oh. Let's see, bishop c5 is what the Monarch is calculating for by rook ab1 to finally be able to develop this piece here. Let's say you sacrifice stuff, queen here check. It doesn't seem to work. The king ensign just goes string ensign, and then it's over, so you cannot sacrifice. So let's see, e4 is not on Deep Fritz radar, and it's probably a bad move because he says now minus 0.91 after bishop c5. Bishop c5 would attack the b pawn, or not attacking it but enabling the bishop to move. So let's see. Now the evaluation is growing. What is the Monarch thinking? This position, Monarch or the Sovereign thinks it's better for white. The Sovereign is a good player, though. I played a lot of games against him, and I consider myself to be not that bad of a chess player, but the Sovereign most of the time got the better of me. So yeah, e4 is not that bad, I guess, but against Deep Fritz it's maybe, or against another strong engine, it's maybe too much here. But this is a great piece here. This, I have to say, this is a great piece, and you kind of wanna solidify it there. So yeah. But it neglects development, and you know, this is weird here, and over there it's also not that much better, just under development. If the rook would somehow be there or there, then it would be really much better for white, but the rook is here. So we have to move rook b1 now after c5, after e4, bishop c5, we have to move rook b1. Now queen f6, probably going after the pawn right here. Bishop there. Bishop takes bishop, pawn takes bishop. And now what? Now what? Now what? Maybe queen here. Threaten this pawn. Kind of have to defend it with the queen. Now the other rook comes in, threatening to go in there. So for example, some random move, rook here, and if the queen takes, the queen can wriggle back, so this probably not working. Let's see. King h8. Fritz played king h8 to prepare maybe the move f5. Fritz is on minus 1.47, so it should be a good move here. Black is still down a pawn, so this gambit is kind of sound because Deep Fritz 14 played it. Let's see what the Sovereign comes up with. Bishop e3 is what he is calculating. After bishop takes, pawn takes. Yeah, the Sovereign thinks thinks it's even, this position to king h8, so might be in trouble because Deep Fritz thinks it's much better for black. Yeah, we have bishop takes. Also the other option is to go in here, threatening the pawn, and if this, then f5. Takes, rook takes, and this pawn is pinned, so maybe some doubling on the f-file to go maybe rook here to evict the queen and threaten to this check right there, which would win the game instantly. So let's see, f5 or f5 immediately, followed by e takes f5 and queen g5. which also looks quite good. So let's see f5 immediately. E takes f5 and queen g5, which is a double attack on that pawn and that pawn. So you kind of have to defend this pawn because that's very important. So probably that move, but now queen takes, threatens the rook. So maybe this one is better. Queen takes does not threaten the rook quite yet, but it threatens rook. So for example this move, rook takes and now queen here, which would lead to checkmate. Bishop is nicely covering the rook here, so this might be a threat. So maybe even here to be able to exchange queens after all. But then you can take with the rook, attacking the queen. Queen has to keep an eye on this pawn, and then rook here, trying to double. So this is a lot of activity for black, just for one pawn. This is awesome play by Fritz again. We have to move f5. Sovereign thinks taking is not that great. Wants to go queen e2 immediately. Queen e2. After takes, bishop takes. Queen here maybe. Doesn't threaten anything. What's the move here? Yeah, to kill the sovereign, it's very hard. I managed it, I think, 6 times out of 150 games I played against him, so he's really a good player, the sovereign. We have to move queen e2. Now f4, not taking, f4. Let's say takes, takes, takes. Rook takes, threatens also this check. Also this check is threatened, and maybe even doubling on the f file. Yeah, well, this the major threat is queen here check, because this would lead to mate, and how to defend this. Probably have to go queen here or something. But then you have rook takes here again, and it doesn't matter which rook you take, it fails terribly. For example, if you take this rook, then that's mate, and if you take this rook, then check, followed by taking that rook, and white is just a rook up, black is just a rook up. So this is now also a threat, so you might even have to go rook here. But queen here is also a terrible threat. So okay, you cannot take this f4 pawn. There are just too much threats which would win immediately. You cannot allow opening up this file towards your king, the G file. So yeah, you and this diagonal you also don't want to open. So it seems pretty lost for white, because yeah, well, what's the threat? We have f4. E takes f4 is a bad move, but let's see both evaluations, what the sovereign thinks. Sovereign also thinks now it's lost, or not lost, it's better for black. f4 is just crushing, I think. Yeah, well, good game by Fritz. See, there were a couple of inaccuracies by the sovereign, but yeah. think it's over. We have to move e takes. And now e takes. You cannot take this pawn because then rook takes would just crush white in all variations I just showed you. And yeah, this bishop here is just cutting off white's king, and this rook is doing nothing over there. On h1 it's just blocked in by its own king and its own pawn. So e takes f probably now by Fritz, and now all the threats are coming. White is playing a rook down basically. b4 is what the sovereign, or queen a6. Queen a6 at least stops queen to b4 check. So let's see, queen a6, queen a6, queen a6, queen here most probably, threaten to take this pawn, then queen there, defending the pawn, also defending b2, but takes. Queen takes fails, I think, due to rook takes there. And if you take the queen, then this is checkmate. Well, after you give up the queen, of course. Then it's checkmate. So you have to take with the pawn. And this is an overload, I think. At some point. Rook takes here, check. Maybe if you take with the queen, then this check is coming. And you kind of have to give up the queen. And if you take it with the rook, then check. I don't know, it's close. It's close though to sacrifice stuff. Okay, we have a move there. We have to move b4. And now the move queen a3. Queen back to defend this pawn here. F takes g3 anyway. Pawn takes g3, I think, is the move. Because after queen takes, then again you have to move rook takes there. Or not even this. This is just winning. This move is just crushing, because the king cannot go anywhere. Queen has to go in front, and then it's mate. So you kind of have to take with the pawn. But then queen here anyway. King there. Rook here. Check. Check. I don't quite see it. I don't quite see it. Check here. Check there. You at least have a draw, but this is not what you want out of that position. I don't see it quite yet. After f takes g3. After h takes g3, I mean. H takes g3. I think both engines agree now that it's lost for white, but I don't see it yet. Yeah, also the Monarch thinks it's lost for white. The sovereign again. Fritz got the better of the sovereign with the reversed Grünfeld. Yeah, rook f1 is what the sovereign thinks. Also deep Fritz thinks rook f1 just wins the queen. Now queen takes pawn over there, and now we have queen against two rooks. I don't know, but this is threatened. And this is threatened, so the attack continues because white's king is just so open. Yeah, this should be over. Should be over. Yeah, we have to move rook f1. You can also take you cannot take with the rook, by the way, because this would be checkmate immediately. So you kind of have to take with the queen, with the king and then this move. It's just over, all over, by the shouting. I will adjust this game in a few minutes. Not even taking the rook. Okay, we have the move king here to defend this pawn at least. Now rook takes e1, followed by rook takes e1, and some bishop move. So yeah, this is over. Just queen against the rook. That's over. Just take the rook and it's done. Good game by Deep Fritz 14. Very nice attack. Let's again see both evaluations at the end. Rook h takes e1 and then the bishop moves, and then I will call it a game. I will call it the game immediately because the queen is lost. So kind of had to do some stuff here to get this game right. So I can close this. I can also close that one. And now let's see how long they played theory. Wanna watch it on the black side. Okay, this is all kind of theory. Right now they reversed Grünfeld. Rook here takes, knight takes, check, check. This is awesome play by Fritz. Here this f4, f5. Very nice, very nice. Now winning the queen. And all is over. So thanks for watching and see you next time. Ciao.